Welcome to Barefoot in America. We're filming from Yellowstone National Park, one of my absolute favorite places in America, in Wyoming, just near the Montana border. And we're going to do a practice today focused on stretching the piriformis. Lots of people have piriformis tightness. It's a thick muscle that rotates your hip laterally, outwardly, and it attaches from your sacrum, that triangular bone that makes the bottom of your spine, out over into your hip bones. So it's this thick muscle, and the sciatic nerve runs under it, and most of us, 13% of the population, it runs through it, they claim. And we're going to do 4 different stretches, holding 2+ minutes each, just taking the time for right and left. So just encourage you to feel your body and take note of right and left and things you sense and notice, and no judgment, right? Just be curious and observe. And we're going to start just sitting nice and tall, taking a moment to ground and center ourselves. Feel yourself sitting nice and tall with a long spine, and bring hands to your heart center, connecting with your breath, bringing awareness to your mind, body, and spirit. And taking a moment to set an intention for your yoga practice. Release your hands and take note of your easy cross-legged posture. And let's just put the right leg in front or on top, or you can make your legs like stacked logs. Wherever you can meet yourself is perfect. Inhale the arms up and overhead. Exhale, hinge from your hips, fold forward. A nice long spine, and if it's hard to reach, you can put blocks under your hands. Lengthening your spine, and as you hinge from your hip, you should be getting a deep stretch in your right gluteal region. This is the first way we're going to approach the piriformis. It's a variation of pigeon and seated. And just let your breath guide you, inhaling deeply, exhaling completely. Let the breath flow in and out of your nostrils, Ujjayi breath. And every time you inhale, lengthen your spine. And every time you exhale, hinge from your hips, melting into the shape. Just notice what's changing and evolving as you spend a little extra time in the shapes today. Following the principles of myofascial release, we'd want to hold everything at least 3 to 5 minutes. We're going to aim for 2 to 3 today to just get a well-rounded practice, stretching the piriformis from multiple perspectives. And gently walk your hands back. Switch the fold of the legs, putting your left leg on top, either an easy cross-legged posture or stacking the legs like logs if that's available to you. We all have different abilities from our hips. Just meet yourself where you are and make sure your foundation is set. Inhale the arms up and overhead. Exhale, lengthen the spine, hinge from your hips, fold forward. Continue to lengthen every time you inhale, and continue to soften into the stretch, coming to your barrier where it feels tight and like it's tugging, but never causing yourself pain, and never working so hard that you start to hold your breath. Continue to let the breath flow smoothly in and out. Softening into the shape, feeling that deep, deep stretch in your left buttock, your left hip. Some folks may go a lot lower than I. Others may dream of getting this low. Just trust that you can find your own edge, the place where you can stretch this piriformis muscle, the deep, deep gluteal muscles, the rotators of the hip. Continue to breathe and soften into it. Make little adjustments with your blocks. There's lots of ways to use them. And last deep breath here. We're going to transition, coming back up. And come on over to lying on your back. Get settled lying on your back. And just bring your knees to chest to start with. Hug your knees, just feel that simple stretch. Setting your feet down on the mat, knees bent, feet flat. Cross your right ankle to your left thigh. We're going to take an easy variation first. Hands on the right knee. Think of your pelvis staying rooted to the mat. Pull your right knee towards the left shoulder. And then once you get there, flex your right ankle, lining your second, third toe up with your kneecap. Do your best to keep your pelvis down. When our hips are tight, we tend to roll a little bit and lift that right hip, but really square your pelvis, your shoulders into the mat. Taking this simpler variation, there's a little compression in the groin here. And if you want to add another dimension to it, just the left hand resting on the right knee. Take your right arm out to the side or up in an angle, just rooting yourself, feeling the dynamic stretch in another direction. And again, inhaling, we lengthen, root ourselves, and exhaling, we soften into it, feeling that depth of the stretch. We're going to make this a two-part stretch, so release the right leg. If staying where you were is best for you, do so. But if you can, release the right leg. Right hand goes between the legs, pulling left knee to chest. Again, flexing your right ankle. Some of you are going to hold your thigh. Others may hold the shin. But again, doing your best to keep your pelvis rooted to the earth and that the bend is happening from the hinge of the hips. Think of your hip as this ball and socket joint, and it has this hinging component. Not only does it hinge, it swivels. The hip has a lot of different movement, which is why we can create these shapes. And the more open your hips are, the less demand there is on the spine to create the movement. Going to stay in this one for a few more deep cleansing breaths. Also known as reverse pigeon. Let yourself really feel the shape and what you sense and notice in it. In the last few rounds of breath here, really melting, getting into it a little bit deeper. Releasing, setting your left foot down, uncross the right leg, straighten both legs out, take the arms overhead and volcano, and just feel the difference in the movement right to left hip. Maybe roll the feet in and out a few times, the kneecaps roll in and out a few times. Just feeling that mobility. And now exhale, give both legs a hug. Set the feet down on the mat, knees bent, feet flat. Left ankle rest on the right thigh. Both hands grab the left knee, drawing it up and over towards the right shoulder. doing your best to keep your pelvis rooted to the mat, allowing this hinging of the hip, this ball and socket joint to just kind of splay over to the opposing shoulder. And once you're settled in, flex your left ankle, lining your second, third toe up with your kneecap. And again, let the breath flow easily. This is a great stretch to do in the morning before you get out of bed, or even in the evening before you go to sleep, especially if you sit a lot and your hips get tight through the day. Really great for all of us to take the time to open our hips, releasing tension, releasing holding patterns, letting it all soften. Knowing it's a two-part stretch, you can stay right here, or you can make the choice to release the left knee, open it up. Left hand now through the keyhole, right knee pulls towards the chest. Flexing the left ankle, second, third toe lines up with the kneecap. Right knee pulling to the chest. Breathing nice and deeply. Just slowing your breath down. Let there be the pauses at the end of every inhale and the end of every exhale. Notice your pelvis rooted in this deep, deep stretch in your hip and buttock. Just stay with it a little bit longer, and notice as you stay a little longer how things start to evolve and change. Release the right leg back down to the mat, uncross the left leg, lower the legs down, arms overhead, take another volcano. Pump your ankles down a few times, wiggle your feet in and out, maybe even roll the legs in and out, feeling the shift you've now created in your left leg. Exhale, give your legs a hug. We're gonna come over to all fours, and some of you may wanna roll to your side to get there. Others may wanna just rock back and forth a few times. And eventually rock all the way up to seated and over to all fours, finding hands and knees. And from hands and knees, spread your fingers wide. Tuck your toes, press into downward dog, pressing firmly down and forward into your hands, hips lift up and back. And maybe just rock your hips right to left, really get settled in. Create length in your spine. It may require a micro bend in your knees to really get your legs bent a little bit so the spine can lengthen. And then from your downward dog, center your left foot a bit, float the right leg to the sky, sweep the right knee forward to the right hand, slide the left leg back. Some folks like to put a block under their right buttock or a blanket to just kind of support them in the shape. You can stay up tall in king pigeon first. Centering the right hand if it's available to you, reaching back, grabbing the left foot. Stay for a couple deep breaths. Releasing your left leg, not quite holding it a whole minute, but lowering the legs so we can come into full pigeon. Walk your hands forward. propping your forehead on stacked fist or a block. Doing your best to lengthen your spine, level your pelvis, feeling the deep, deep stretch in your right hip. Ashtanga yogis would really focus on making this shin parallel to the top of the mat. It's not available to everyone, so just make sure your knee is comfortable as you do pigeon posture. If you feel any torquing in your knee, just make adjustments to lose that torquing. Softening and melting. And then tucking your left toes, walk your hands back under your shoulders. Step back to downward dog. Settle in and float the left leg to the sky. Sweep it forward to meet the left hand, knee to hand. Slide the right leg back. Starting in king pigeon if you like. Centering your left hand. Reaching back, grabbing your right foot if that's available to you. Lifting your head, lifting your heart, releasing the right leg and lengthening your spine, melting forward to full pigeon. And again, if you like that prop underneath you, you certainly could. Forehead could rest on stacked fist or a block. Feeling that deep stretch in your left hip, buttock region. Get just a couple more deep breaths in it. Shifting your weight over to your left buttock. Sweep your right leg around and over. And you're ready to lie on your back in Savasana. Go ahead and lie down on your back. And just give yourself the time to melt into the earth. Let yourself be heavy. Let yourself completely let go. Make any adjustments to settle in a bit more. Stay in Savasana as long as you have time for today. I'm ever grateful for you to join me on the mat in one of my favorite places in America, Yellowstone National Park. And please stick around and enjoy the slideshow at the end of the practice today. The place of divine light and truth in me honors the place of divine light and truth in you, where we are all one. Namaste.